Well, condolences are pouring in for the late South African National Police Commissioner Jackie Selebi. Selebi passed away on Friday morning at a hospital in Pretoria at the age of 64. He occupied different offices, from being a leader of the youth movement to being the head of Interpol. On the 3rd of August in 2010, Selebi was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment for taking bribes from convicted drug dealer Glenn Agliotti. He was released on medical parole from prison in 2012. Well, joining us now to talk about his life is Ambassador Welile Nhlapho. It's good to have you, Ambassador. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Take us through your memories and your friendship with Jackie Selebi.
Well, I first met Jackie Selebi in 1972 at the TOCC Hall in Orlando East, where a group of us students who have been expelled from the universities after the strike following the expulsion of Nkgopotso Tiro, when he made that statement about education in the universities at the graduation at TEFLOP in 1972. We were at the time discussing how we should mobilize the communities and our parents to support our position in arguing for the reinstatement of Nkgopotso Tiro and all the students that have been expelled from TEFLOP. I was at the University of Zululand, and we had also gone on strike, but I had walked out when the other students went back, so I decided to leave. That's where I met him, and since then I've known him.
Yeah.
And I've worked with him throughout, even in exile, in many capacities that he was working.
How do you think South Africa should remember him? It's difficult to unfortunately break away from the convicted Jackie Selebi, but there was so much he did to contribute to the free South Africa that we live in today. How do you believe South Africa should remember him?
I think it's our responsibility, those of us who worked with Jackie Selebi, to inform South Africans about who Jackie Selebi is from our point of view, from our understanding, and the work that he has done for this country.
Remind us.
We have that responsibility. Jackie, after leaving school, Jackie taught at Orlando High and taught at other schools, Musi High. He also taught in the Skanotwana. And as a teacher, Jackie produced a lot of students who are today occupying very high positions in government. Pumla Williams is that thing was taught by Jackie Selebi at Orlando High. The just immediate chief of the Navy was one of his students. We've got about 3 or 4 ambassadors who were also his students. So he has produced leaders. Jackie was also a teacher at the Solomon Mahlangu Freedom College. And some of the people that were produced are leaders today in various areas and serving this country. So we say Jackie as a teacher has done so much to produce these leaders that are doing a lot of good work in consolidating our democracy. That's number one.
Yeah.
Jackie is a student leader. Even at the time he was a teacher, he was mobilizing and helping the students to organize themselves at high school. He also was part of the underground machinery of the ANC. Was arrested several times during the state of emergency, tortured severely several times, which accounts for some of his sudden change in weight, because there was a hormonal distortion as a result of torture, and he had to get treatment for that. He left the country. When he came, and then we went to Solomon Mahlangu Freedom College, where he started teaching. And then he was also the representative of the National Youth Committee that was established to organize our youth. And he then represented us at the World Federation of Democratic Youth in Hungary, Budapest, where he did quite a lot of work in mobilizing youth and students internationally to contribute towards the isolation of the apartheid regime and in support of our liberation struggle, and particularly in supporting the building of Somafco, the school where he taught.
Yeah.
He mobilized a lot of resources for that school to be able to stand on it.
Let's talk about his work in the early 90s, because that was also, he was at the forefront of bringing a lot of our exiled leaders back into the country.
Yes, he was given that responsibility to work on the repatriation of all South Africans. Some of us happened to help him in that work, working together with the UNHCR and designing the whole process, but also establishing contacts with families inside the country and with the churches, and building an infrastructure for the reception of those who were in exile, some of them who did not know where they're going to when they come here because they'd long lost contact with their families. You had to make all of those arrangements, and also to make sure that they are properly integrated into South African society.
Yeah. Just very quickly, I mean, you've described a man that did so much for the development of South Africa and so much for the freedoms that we find ourselves in now today. In your opinion, as a friend, what led to his downfall of the convicted Jackie Selebi that unfortunately we all know of in this time?
You know, one of the things I don't suffer from is amnesia or selective memory. Advocate Mukotedi, at the time of his resignation from the NPA, had indicated that he was investigating the whole process of which led to his conviction. And he was suggesting that there were some injustices that were committed in the process, and that the case might be reopened. But of course, we know the NPA said there was no such a decision. That is a position that was taken. This is a person who was inside the NPA. So we should not forget that. Number two, should not also forget that a plea bargain was made with murderers and criminals to bring him down, people who had targeted him. And of course, they succeeded because they managed to compromise him in the process, which is what criminals specialize in. If they have the opportunity to, so they do it. And we should not forget that Aglioti did tell the court that he had a budget of over $1 million to target him. So there was a concerted effort. Now the question is, the plea bargain and all of those things that Aglioti did and what Mkotedi said, I think let's leave it to the students and future researchers to come up with that. The unfortunate thing is that all of us, maybe most of us, might not be alive when that truth comes out. I will be happy, and I think many people will be happy, if the NPA can do exactly what Mkotedi had suggested. Let's bury this thing. Because that was also his position. That's what he had told me, that he felt that certain things that had happened were wrong, and in his own opinion, that he was being persecuted for closing down the Scorpions and for suggesting that they be incorporated into the police, because that would have reduced the power of the NPA to be both investigator and prosecutor.
All right.
That was his own opinion, and I think I share that with him.
We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for coming in, talking to us, and talking about the life and times of the late Jackie Selebi, who passed away on Friday morning after an illness. He was 64 years old at the time. His funeral is to be held on Saturday. All details apparently are going to be released today. All right. Thank you very much. This was Ambassador Welile Nhlapho talking to us in studio about his late friend. All right, the time now, 24 minutes past 7. It's time to get your sports news.